Hey everyone, this is Anthony from Rockstar. And for this week's Rockstar Minute, we recently filled a student rental property by a popular Southern Ontario university, and it went really, really well. Within 5 days of posting our two ads, which I'm going to walk you through here in this video, we had over 50 showings booked with groups of students. So, not just individual students, full groups of students, because we were looking to do one group lease for this property. We had over 50 showings booked on the very first showing. We had the very first two showings on the first day we went to go to the property. We had two signed leases in hand and two full rent deposits towards last month's rent. We were then able to choose the preferred group of students that we wanted to go with and shut everything down, turn off the ads, and cancel all the other showings. And this was all within 5 days. And we were able to do it on our own terms with minimal work by using a lot of cool technology, platforms, and things that are available for all of us to be able to use completely for free. So I'm just going to walk you through the step-by-step process that we used from posting our ads to conducting a showing and getting a lease signed for this property. It was very easy, very simple. So first things first, a lot of universities and colleges in Southern Ontario actually have their own off-campus housing online platforms where landlords can post ads for their properties, like all of these ones here, and then students can then click into it and then contact the landlords however you prefer to be contacted. So I'm just happen to be showing you the McMaster University one, but there's plenty of other of these platforms for different schools in Ontario. Okay, so we posted one ad on an off-campus housing platform. We then posted the exact same ad on Facebook Marketplace. So I've done another Facebook Marketplace video, a full tutorial of how to use this platform to advertise rental properties. It's my absolute favorite platform at the current moment in February 2022. That may change, but right now it's my favorite. And we'll link to that video as well in the description. But so here, if you just click this tab, it brings you to Marketplace. I've just posted like a dummy fake property just to show you the process. So all it says here is 7-bed, 2-bath house. So this is our pretend student rental property, okay? So you post to general Marketplace in the area you want to post it. But then what we also did to really target students is we actually searched up off-campus housing. And this is just in the general Facebook search tab. We searched off-campus housing, and then you filter it by groups right here. And then it shows all these different groups for different housing in Ontario. So what we did is we searched up off-campus housing and then the specific school name we were looking for. So you can do that as well. And then what you do is you just, here it says visit group because I'm already a member of this group. But if I wanted to join the Brock one, let's say I had a student rental in St. Catharines near Brock University, I would click to join. And some of the groups require you to answer questions and stuff before you're allowed into the group. But there's several different groups for each school in Ontario listed on here. And as you can see, there's a ton of students that are in these groups and actively looking for rental properties. So you can get so much demand and so many eyeballs on the ads for your properties by joining these groups and posting your marketplace ad directly in these groups, which I'm going to show you how to do. So as you can see here, 66,000 students are in this student housing in Waterloo group. So definitely a good idea to post in there. And the way that you post in there is once you have your ad posted, you can do this as you post your ad, or you can also do it afterwards from this menu here in the Your Listings menu. You can go list in more places. Okay. And then all of these groups that you're a part of will show up here. So I'm a part of all these different groups for rentals around Ontario. But what I would do personally is if I was doing this again, I would join as many groups as possible for, let's say, for example, for Brock, as many groups as possible for Brock. And then I would just select that and I would click post and it would post it into these groups. Now, when someone wants to message you on Facebook, they can directly message you and it goes through the Facebook Messenger platform. If I click this button, a little marketplace tab is at the top and all the marketplace ad messages that have come in would come in there, and then you can just respond directly on Facebook Messenger. You can also choose to leave your different types of contact information like your phone number or your email address in the actual ad description, and you can do that as well in this ad. Otherwise, people will just have your email. So what I actually did for this student rental we just filled was I put my cell phone number. The reason I put my cell phone number for this student rental is because students definitely prefer using their phones and texting as opposed to emailing or even messaging on Facebook. It's still very convenient for them, but for the most part, students definitely prefer texting. And so I usually don't put my cell phone number because I just don't want messages coming in at all times of the day for my rental listings. I really just prefer, going into Facebook once a day and responding to leads or whatever platform I'm using. But for the student rental, I knew there was a ton of demand and we would get it done within like a week. So I just bit the bullet and I put my cell phone number in there. And with Max, it's really easy because it has a messages tab right here on my MacBook. So I can just click into there and then respond to leads from my MacBook keyboard. So it's a lot easier than texting. Now, in terms of responding to leads, I'm going to show you the pre-written response that we would just copy and paste and send to all the leads. So it's right here. So it says, hey there, this, and then you would put the number of beds, the number of baths, and the number of kitchens in the student house. That's minutes away from school name. So let's say Brock, for example, is still available. Here's the walkthrough video for this home. You can put a YouTube link if you've done a walkthrough video. I also highly recommend doing a short 2-minute walkthrough video, just showing with a phone, just landscape mode, walking through the house, showing all the rooms, kitchens, basement, just quickly walking through so students get an idea of how to piece together all the photos in the ad and how it all looks. So I highly recommend doing that if possible, but not necessary. And the next part of the message says, we're looking to rent the whole house out to one group of students. Monthly rent is whatever the rent amount you're charging is, and then whatever it is per room by the amount of rooms. So, and then utilities are included in the rent. You can book a time to view the property using the booking link below. The times listed on the booking calendar are the only times I'm available to meet. Now I have a booking link here from Calendly. It's not an actual booking link, but it's an example of one. I would put my unique one once I make one. And I'm going to show you Calendly and why we like to use it in 1 second. And then I say, just let me know once you've booked a showing. I'll also send you more details about the student rental once you've booked an appointment. Thank you. So there's a few things I'm trying to do with this message. So I'm communicating all of the information that's already in the ad. I'm repeating it again right now, like how many bedrooms, how many baths, how many kitchens, minutes away from the school, the monthly rent amount, and the lease situation. So we're looking to rent out the whole house to one group of students. The reason I repeat all this information in this message, which might seem a bit long, is because students are just skimming through all these different ads and they're just blasting out messages to a bunch of them at the same time. So they might not even remember the ad that I'm messaging them back about, or they probably haven't even read it because they just quickly skim through photos and then shoot off a message, some of them. So I found I was getting a bunch of questions of things that were already in the ad. So what I did is I just added all this information into this message and it cut back on a lot of the back and forth. I was able to just copy and paste this. So then students actually really appreciated having this Calendly booking link because, and one even commented how much more professional this system was compared to what other landlords were doing, which is trying to go back and forth and find times that work for everybody. All I did was just put this link together. And Calendly, I signed up for a free trial, and just you can do this using just the free account. There's paid accounts that have more functionalities that we don't really need in this instance. But this is the example booking page that I used. So I set my own availability when I could do showings for this student rental property. So just for an example, I set up Saturday morning and Wednesday night. So the students click the booking link, it takes them to this page, and then they're able to select a 15-minute time slot to do a showing. So let's say they select 10:30 and they put, their name's John Smith. Schedule an event. This then comes in and gets added to my list of scheduled events. So I've already got 2 example ones here, but if I hit refresh, that one will show up as well. And going back to the message, let me just open this. I also said, hey, just let me know once you've booked a showing. I will also send you more details about the student rental once you've booked an appointment. So the reason I asked them to let me know once they've actually booked something is so I could send them this message. So I just copy and paste this right after. It's very systematic, it's very easy, and it takes all the thought and back and forth and time out of this whole process. So it says, thanks for booking a time. If you like the house and want to lock it in for your group, I will have a filled out lease ready to be signed at the property by whoever is there. I can then get the rest of your group signatures the next day by electronic email signature. We can also collect a deposit towards the last month's rent, and this would reserve the house for your group. A bunch of students have already messaged me about this house, and it will go fast. It usually only takes one showing to find a group every year. Just want to give you the heads up. Thanks. So let's break it down. The first part, if you like the house and want to lock it in for your group, I'll have a filled out lease ready to be signed. The process for student rentals and finding tenants is definitely different from the process for renting out a regular rental property or apartment, where we might be pre-screening tenants before we invite them to the showing to make sure they're qualified for the rental. We definitely are doing background checks on all the tenants. So we're checking credit, we're checking income, we're verifying employment, current landlord references, all that stuff. We're doing a thorough, in-depth background check. With students, we're not really doing that same background check because, one, most of them are not working. They're in school, right? They're students. Two, most of them are living off of mom and dad's money, right? Mom and dad are often footing the bill and helping them through school. Or they might be working part-time or whatever, but it's not so much of a thing that we need to verify employment. And then three, most students don't even have much of a credit history at the age that they're renting out these properties. They're just getting into the workforce, just starting to get a credit card. So we're not really checking credit history. Now, what we can do to add some extra security, if you'd like, is when we do the group lease and get all the students on one lease for the property, we can then have parents also co-sign this lease. And then if they're, for example, a student doesn't pay rent or something, you can then go to the parents and say, look, you guys are all on the lease and the rent wasn't paid in full. You guys have to basically cover this student's missing rent. Or it could be their own parent, right? So you can always do that as a backup security measure just to be more careful about avoiding any missed rent or something like that, okay? So we were doing a group lease. So the thing is, these students, this was right after the Christmas break. So January, the first week of January is when we did this showing. And a lot of students were back for Christmas, back at their, personal homes with their families. So these groups of students, 6 or 7 students, they're scattered all over Ontario. So what I did is if someone asked me, hey, I can't have everyone come to the house, this is why I had this message, which I said I can then get the rest of your group signatures the next day by electronic email signature. So I could get some of them to sign the lease at the house and then follow up the next day by using Docusign, which I'll quickly show you as well, to get the rest of the signatures. And then I also let them know, hey, we can also collect a deposit and this would reserve the house for your group. Okay, so I'm just informing them that they have the option to put a deposit down and hold the property just for them. Okay, so they can secure it, which a lot of students are concerned about. They want to secure a place and get rid of that anxiety about finding a place for next year. So I left that in the message as well. And then here, this was just the truth. A bunch of students were messaging me. It was overwhelming. The way I dealt with all the messages in my texts and on Facebook is once a day, maximum twice a day. So like morning, night, I would go in and send off all these canned messages or these copy and paste messages, whatever you want to call them, and shoot them all off just once or twice a day. And I would ignore all the other texts throughout the day just to save myself from being overwhelmed. And then it usually only takes one showing to find a group every year. This is just the truth. It usually only takes one if you use this process. Okay, so they book. I had a bunch of showings booked in. And so the next process was clicking export here. And you can export a file of all the showings that are booked, all these time slots. And then I just use Google Sheets, but you can use Excel as well. And you can just upload this file, this CSV file, once you open it. And all the showings, people's names, the time slots, and you can get phone numbers as well when you use Calendly will be listed here. And so I just printed this one sheet out and brought it to the property. And then I had my full schedule of showings for the first night, which was a Wednesday night. And we had I don't know how many showings booked that night, but 10 to 15 showings with different groups of students in these 15-minute time slots. Okay, so we go to the showing. The first group comes in, they like the house. I let them know. They walk around for about 10 minutes. Then we chatted about the lease for about 5 minutes. And I said, I printed out about 8 different copies of the lease that we had pre-filled already with all the information except the tenant's particular information, obviously. And I said, here's the lease. You guys seem interested. I just have to show it to the next group who had arrived for their 15-minute showing. Can you guys just go outside, review the lease? And this was the first week of January. It was like freezing cold outside. And so they go outside, they're reviewing it. They look it over, make sure everything's good on their end. And they sign the lease on the driveway in the freezing cold. But the only reason I made them go outside is because I had to do showings for the next people. The second group, they like the house. I gave them a copy of the lease. They go outside, do the same thing. They sign it. They both groups then e-transfer me that night full last month's rent for the house. And once I had collected 2 deposits, which I told them was non-refundable if we do select you for the house, but totally refundable if we don't select you. We just e-transfer it back to you. Once they sent those deposits, I was very confident that they were serious about renting the property and they weren't going to waste their time. And so I then called down my list, my spreadsheet here, that had all the phone numbers, and I canceled all the showings for the rest of the night. And then I went on Calendly and I canceled all of these showings I had booked by just going here. You just hit cancel. And I canceled the next 2 or 3 days I had booked up with showings. Like we had over 50 showings booked on Calendly, and it only took 2 to find the groups we needed, basically because of this process. Now, just to quickly show you Docusign. So we had 3 of the students from these 2 groups sign. And so we needed to, 1, pick our preferred group, which we did. And so the next day I got all the email addresses and names of the other students that weren't able to attend the showing and let them know, hey guys, we need the lease fully signed by today to lock it in for your group. They obviously saw all the other showings that were coming in and they knew this house was a demand. So they urgently filled this out for me. All you do is upload a blank Ontario Standard lease. Make sure it's the Ontario Standard lease. And then you would put their name. You put John Smith, john@rockstar.com. And the lease is already filled out. I scanned the lease from the night before that had the signatures of the other students. You go down to page 7, which is the signature page, right? And then you just click for the tenants that hadn't signed yet. You put the date and you put the name. And Docusign and Calendly and Facebook and I know at least McMaster off-campus housing is free unless you want to boost the listing. All of these different things were completely free. Now, some of the off-campus housing things you might have to pay to post your ad. So that might be the one expense, but all of these other things are completely free. Docusign has a free trial where you can send about 5 of these envelopes or documents to be signed before they want to charge you or start a subscription. And that's it. You just hit send. They get sent it and they can click to electronically sign everything. So the one group signed everything. They had an e-transfer limit. So the night before they sent like 90% of the rent and they weren't able to send the full thing. So they sent the final amount. We had collected it. We then reached out to the other group, who was a great group of students, but unfortunately, we didn't have another student rental available for them. Otherwise, we would have loved to fill that property with that group. But we let them know, hey guys, so sorry, but we went with another group. And we sent back their deposit that they had sent us the night before by e-transfer. That's why e-transfer is the best. It's very easy. And then after that, it was done. We had our signed lease. We took all the ads down, and this was within 5 days. We canceled over 50 other showings. We probably overbooked showings, but with COVID, we just weren't sure, and all the school shutdowns, how it would be. So we erred on the side of caution, which is always the safe route. But we were A-okay, 100% fine, and there was a ton of demand for student rentals in the first week of January when we were doing this. I haven't done another one since, so I can't comment, but that's it. Hope you got something from this and can implement some of these tools the next time you have a student rental property or another rental property you think you might be able to use some of this stuff for. Thanks, everyone. Bye.